Think about it. Yahweh is going to heal you this Passover. Some of you with emphysema, some of you with asthma. You're going to get healed this year. Some of you with bad eyesight. Your eyesight used to be 20/20, now it's 0.03 and 0.04. That's me. You're going to get healed this year.
Amen.
I mean, we don't, no wonder that the enemy doesn't want people doing Pesach, because there's healing in the bread and in the water. And we're going to pass around a big bowl. And we're going to do rachatz. We're going to wash each other's hands. We're going to wash our own hands. And if we don't behave, we'll even wind up washing each other's feet. And boys with boys, girls with girls, don't worry. And man, in the waters of Pesach, in the rachatz, and in the matzah, there's healing.
Amen.
We're going to take the middle matzah of Pesach, 3 matzah, Father, Son, and Spirit. We're going to break it, and we're going to say, eat all of the matzah, and that is, by His stripes, you are healed.
Amen.
There's nothing new in the Brit Chadashah.
Hallelujah.
There's healing in the matzah. Turn to your neighbor and say, there's healing in the matzah.
There's healing in the matzah.
Because what is the matzah? It is the unleavened bread of Yeshua.
Amen. Amen.
So that's where the healing's always been. Isn't it funny? That Greco-Roman system thinks that healing started in Matthew. Yahweh said in Exodus 15, I am Yahweh Rophe. I am Yahweh, your doctor.
Amen.
Rophe. In Hebrew, you go to Israel today and you say, Ani rotze Rophe. I need a doctor. Yahweh says, I am Yahweh Rophe. Or as you learned in the Sunday system, Jehovah Rapha. Oh, whoa, whoa. Well, in Hebrew, it's not Jehovah Rapha. It is Yahweh Rophe. Literally meaning, Dr. Yahweh, are you available? And Yeshua says, those who are whole don't need a physician, but those who are sick.
Amen.
That's the good news. Those who are well don't need a physician. You want the bad news? No one's well spiritually. That's the bad news. We all need a physician.
Right.
That's right.
For all have sinned, Romans 3:23, and fallen short of the glory of Hashem. Don't tell me you're Jewish. Don't tell me you keep Torah. Don't tell me you wear a necktie. I'm not impressed. All have sinned and come short of the glory of Yeshua. Of Hashem.
Everyone.
If you're born, you're a sinner. And if you don't find a Savior in the next 30 years that you're on this earth, you'll die lost.
Amen. It's true.
All right? So you've got a very limited time on this earth to find a Savior. And you better find the right one. Because Yeshua said, many will come in my name, saying, I am Moshiach. Do not follow them. There it is, brothers and sisters. Shemot 23:25. Yahweh says, I'm going to bless the Pesach matzah. I'm going to bless the Mayim Shel Pesach. And I will remove your sickness. May this be the last Pesach that we need glasses.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
But I'm talking about an assembly that gets ready. 1 Corinthians. Back to 1 Corinthians 11. Is anyone making enjoyment?
Amen.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
I'll try that again. Is anyone enjoyment making?
Hallelujah.
Thank you, Roberto. 1 Corinthians 11. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. 1 Corinthians 11, and let's go back to verse 20. So we come together, it's for the Master's Supper. Verse number 21. For when you eat, each one takes his own supper first. We had that problem here, which is why we started doing intermission. When we eat, each one takes his own supper first. One is hungry, another is drunk. Hello? So the point is, how were they celebrating Pesach? They were eating not together, not in one place, and they were abusing the elements. Hello? They were running off to the side, and everyone was taking their own supper. And Yeshua said, and Rav Shaul said, this is Pesach. This is the assembly of Israel. No divisions. And when you come together, I don't want to see people in the kitchen nibbling. I'm talking to somebody now. I don't want to see people sneaking energy bars into the bathroom. That's why I gave you an intermission. In other words, when we come together, is it not for Pesach? So when this Wednesday night, there doesn't need to be people in the house eating while everybody else out there is coming together, because is it not Yeshua's Pesach, the Master's Supper?
Amen.
It's not your supper, it's the Master's Supper.
Yes,
You can't be eating anytime you want to eat and drinking anytime you want to drink. You got to eat when the people eat, and you got to drink when the people drink. And that is the final say, because Yeshua is not happy. He said, it's not your home, it's my home. It's not your people, it's my people. It's not your assembly, it's my assembly. And don't eat and drink and just nibble and fidget. He says, everybody's hungry, you're not the only one. And he says, it is the Master's Supper. What were they doing in Corinth? The same thing they do in Miami Beach and elsewhere. Everybody goes off to the side and starts eating and nibbling. All right? Yeah, you get angry at me, that's okay. It won't be the first time someone's angry at me. That's why we gave you a break. So that you can have a snack break. What do you mean, Rabbi? What do you mean, Rabbi? So now we have a snack break. That means when you come in here, you don't eat. Isn't that this Yahweh Shabbat?
Yes.
When you come in here, you don't drink Kool-Aid. You don't do that. This is Yahweh's. All right, and if you have, and I drink because I'm teaching. Well, would you like me not to drink? If I don't drink, I'll be so hoarse you won't have teaching. So this is not hypocritical. This is instructional. Okay? Rabbi, no water, no eat. No eat, no food, no Torah, go home. All right, now verse 21. And they were getting drunk. Look at me. Drunk on grape juice? Now, how many have come out of the Greco-Roman system? We just probably want a cracker and juice that grapes. And we don't want to argue because the Lord has forbidden me from drinking vin. Let me tell you, sweetheart, Rabbi Moshe will be drinking on Wednesday night. Because these folks couldn't be getting drunk on Pesach on grape juice.
That's right.
Right.
The argument is settled. The controversy is over. The discussion is over. There's no need to argue and fight and have more schisms in the body before Pesach. Rabbi, are we going to be using grape juice or wine? Well, I don't know what the ladies are going to be putting out on the table. But on my table, there's going to be wine.
Mine too.
Now, I don't know about the rest. Now, I've heard some rumors. I've heard some...
Mine too.
Hi, guys. How are you? Now, I've heard some rumors that some of the ladies are buying grape juice. So, I'm not telling you what to do. Just, you may want to speak to some of the procurers and make sure that there's a variety. Now, listen to me. If you're a recovering alcoholic, or if you're a current alcoholic, you need to stay away from that stuff because, number one, you are not glorifying Yahweh by drinking something that will make you stumble and fall into sin.
Right.
Number one. Number two, by the time the evening is over, you're going to look like an idiot.
That's right.
Now, a few Pesachs ago, we had someone turn themselves into an idiot.
Yes.
All right? And they were dancing and there was no music. How many know what I'm talking about? Like, how many remember that?
Oh, yeah.
When we met in Surfside.
Yes.
All right, this woman was so drunk, she didn't know that the music stopped. All right, so we don't want that. That's not decent and orderly behavior in the house of Yahweh.
Amen.
So please, if you have you know your heart, look at the chametz in your heart. If you've had a problem with alcohol, you must, we will have grape juice for you. Okay, but it's unheard of to have a Hebraic feast without wine. It's unheard of. It's like having Christmas without a tree.
Yep.
It's like having Claus without Santa. What kind of a pagan would enter into Claus and leave Santa home? Wouldn't be a very good pagan, would it? Same it is with an Israelite that doesn't have wine at the feast. Oh, but the Lord didn't drink wine. Yeah, you're right. He consumed it. And he turned, when he didn't have enough, he turned water into it. But he knew his heart. He wasn't drinking to get drunk. He was enjoying the fruit of the vine which the Father had created for all Yisrael.
Amen.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Hashem Yahweh.
Hallelujah.
So people argue, was it wine, was it grape juice? How can you argue when the Corinthians were getting drunk? They were getting drunk. They weren't getting drunk on grape juice, they were getting drunk on wine.
That's right.
Real heavy doctrine. Sometimes we complicate things. Yahweh gives us things that are so simple. And we have people breaking fellowship. Well, why don't you fellowship with Brother Earl anymore? They drink wine on Passover. Really? Yeah, man. You know that I can't fellowship with that kind of demon. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Okay, so one is hungry, one is drunk. In other words, you can't talk about coming together as Israel and eating on your own schedule, drinking the wine. There are 4 cups of wine, we got you covered. You like to drink wine, we got 4 cups. Don't be drinking like so much, and you're getting drunk. It's not your supper, it's Yeshua's supper.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. It's Yeshua's supper. It's not our supper. Now, verse 22, Rav Shaul says, don't you have houses to eat and drink in? Meaning, private eating and drinking or private nibbling is to be done where? In your own house. These are the procedures when our assembly gets ready. Or do you despise the assembly of Elohim and shame those who have not? What shall I say to you? Shall I praise you in this? I do not praise you. What does that mean? If you eat and drink your own food and your own drink, how about the brothers and sisters who don't have the ability to eat and drink outside of the assembly that night? They don't have their own food. They don't have their own drink. That's the problem with going to the back and eating during the service or eating in the sanctuary. That's why we had to stop that. You're thinking about your belly. You're thinking about your hunger. How about the elder, or how about the other person that hasn't eaten in 4 hours? Are you thinking about them? No. So you're thinking about your own needs and not the needs of the assembly. Is not this Yahweh's Shabbat? Is this your Shabbat or is it Yahweh's Shabbat?
Yahweh.
So that's why we've made a break for snack. But there'll be people there who don't have their own food, they don't have their own drink, and we're supposed to be coming together as Echad. Verse 22. Private nibbling is an act, listen, that dishonors the concept of Mikra Kodesh. You know that? Private nibbling is a concept that violates the concept of Mikra Kodesh. What is Mikra Kodesh? A sacred, set-apart assembly. How can you be a sacred, set-apart assembly when you have all these divisions? Well, what do you mean, Rabbi? How's that divisions? When you've got 10 people eating their own food, is it really an assembly? Is it really people having everything in common? That's one of the reasons I stopped you guys from eating in the sanctuary. Because I didn't get any of that food. Madeline certainly didn't get any of that food. And this poor woman, sometimes she's hungry. And now she's my front row student. I gotta take care of her. So the bottom line is, nibbling is an act of selfishness. And when they saw Passover, Passover, and they start gorging themselves during Eliyahu, during Dayenu, everybody's saying, Dayenu, Dayenu. And then they were out in the back eating and gorging, and then by the time the assembly ate the lamb, they were full. So they didn't eat the lamb. They didn't eat the assembly's food. They ate their own food. It's a selfish act of nibbling. It's getting quiet now. It's a selfish act of nibbling. Because when the assembly eats, you're already full. And when the assembly can't eat, you're parading your liberty in Messiah. So on this Pesach, let's purpose not to nibble. Plus, the way the Seder is set up, you can have matzah before the food. You can have maror, bitter herbs, before the food. There's enough things so you consume to keep you full. Turn to your neighbor and say, there's enough to keep you full.
There's enough to keep you full.
So you can't be talking about unity and not caring about anybody else and just feeding yourself. Private nibbling is an act of selfishness. I can see I'm going to have some emails tonight. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So Rav Shaul says, what shall I say? Shall I praise you? I praise you not. Verse 23. For I received from the Master what I also delivered to you, that the Master Yahshua, in the night he was delivered or betrayed, took up the matzah, and having given thanks, what is another way of saying he gave thanks? Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. He said the bracha. Why you do that Jewish stuff? Man, I can't do it. See, the Greco-Roman mind used to say grace. We don't say grace. We do the bracha. There's an assigned bracha for the matzah and for the yayin, the wine. And when we're full and when we've eaten, then we say the birchat hamazon. Or we say in Yiddish, we bench. What does it mean to bench? Does it mean to find the bench and sit on it? No. The Hebrew prays after they eat. The Christian prays before they eat. We're not to pray before we eat. We're to do the bracha. We set apart the food. And when we're full, and Yahweh says, you have enough? Am I a good pop? Did you miss a beat? Did I take care of you? Is everything okay? Now make the bench. And the bench is the blessings after the meal. So, in other words, a Hebrew mindset is not say grace. Are you with me? Isn't it ironic that the blessing before they eat is called grace? Because the whole mentality is grace. There's no Torah, there's no law, there's no Pesach. So naturally, what are you going to call the prayer, the unscriptural prayer before you eat? You're going to call it grace, naturally. Hello. So private nibbling is an act that dishonors the concept of togetherness. I mean, honestly, we don't see it that way, right? We see, yo tengo comida. Is that how you say it? Hunger?
It's okay. Tengo hambre.
Hombre. Yo tengo hambre. But we don't see that as an act that pulls us apart from the concept of sacredness of Mikra Kodesh. That's a concept of Mikra Kodesh. If most of your brothers are not partaking and you are partaking, Yahweh says, now it's your supper, it's not Yeshua's Pesach. Is any of this making sense?
Yes.
Is any of this making sense?
Amen.
Take, and he said, you haven't given thanks, he broke it and said, take, eat. This is my body, which is broken for you. We're going to do that on Pesach. This do in remembrance of me. Verse 25, in the same way, also the cup after supper. There are 4 cups in the Pesach Seder. You're going to have, please don't leave after you've eaten. That's also an act of breaking the Mikra Kodesh. The best part is after the Seder, after the meal, where we take the cup of redemption, and Yeshua took the cup, and this is the renewed covenant in my blood. As often as you do drink this, do this in remembrance of me. Now, the key words here is as often as you drink this. So a Greco-Roman mind looks at it and goes, oh, in other words, it doesn't matter how many times you take communion. Can we talk? Most of y'all, when you came into this congregation, man, you went through shock treatment. When we didn't hand out the little cups,
Right.
and the little Pollywanta cracker wafers.
Amen.
It's like, where's the communion? This place, Miami Beach, if this was really scriptural, if this place was really led by the Ruach,
Right.
we'd have those little communion cups. Ted, what'd you do with my communion cups? You didn't buy them, that's good.
Back there on the Lord.
They're somewhere floating in the closet. Oh man, somewhere in yesterday's closet. I mean, you come in here and you go, where's the bread? I'm sorry, as often as you do this. As often as you do this. Well, time out. Is it the Master's Supper or is it our supper? If it's the Master's Supper, we are to do it according to his schedule, according to his appointment,
Amen.
according to his way, according to his understanding. Don't you go back and take communion every Sunday or every month. You're cheapening his goodness. You're not following his pattern. That is private nibbling. Pastors have turned that into private nibbling. He says, as often as you do this, that is a Hebraic phrase meaning follow the cycle. As often as you do this, well, how do I know how often I should do this? Go back to the Torah. Hello?
Once a year.
Amen.
Follow the cycle.
Yes.
Life is a cycle of times and seasons. Kohelet 3:1. For every season and there is a time, and there is a purpose under heaven. Not under your understanding, but under heaven's understanding.
Amen.
So we are to take communion once a year, sweetheart. See, that's how the assembly gets prepared. We prepare ourselves once a year. How set apart is that moment? How holy is that moment? How special is that moment? How wonderful is that moment? It only comes around once a year. What makes the Indianapolis 500 the greatest event in sport, one of the greatest events in sports? Because once a year, 500,000 people flee to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's only once a year. The Kentucky Derby is only once a year. The Masters Golf Tournament this weekend is only once a year. It's a special event because it only rolls around. Yahweh doesn't want to take the tahor and make it tamai. He doesn't want to take the special and make it common. You with me?
Yes.
Weekly communion takes the tahor, the clean, the pure, special moment. This is the moment for division to cease. This is the moment for private agendas to cease. This is the moment for private nibbling to cease in the house of Yahweh. This is the time when we bring to ask for forgiveness for people that we have wronged, we've gossiped, that we've slandered in the congregation, in the assembly. This is the one time, once a year, we come together. One time, once a year, in one place, we come together. This is the time to get things right. We want our Passover bread blessed. We want our Passover water blessed. We want to experience the healing virtue and the healing flow of Golgotha. Yahweh said in Shemot 23, I'll bless your Passover bread. I'll bless your Passover water if you'll do things my way.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Amen. Yes.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Hallelujah.
So notice, it says it is the Master's Supper. Well, how often did the Master have his supper? WWYD. What would Jerome do? Jerome took an annual moed and turned it into a Sunday happening.
Yes. Amen.
What did Yeshua do? Let's follow Yeshua. When did he distribute the elements? One time, and that event is held once a year.
Once a year.
Amen.
Amen?
Amen.
Once a year. Do you know that when you do it once a year, you're showing that you're a sacred assembly, that you're a set-apart assembly? Did you know that? You're showing that you're not part of the common Gentiles, but that you are the pure, cleansed people of renewed covenant Israel. Did you know that? Well, what do I do, Rabbi, if I go to church and they pass the communion cup? Excuse me. Say that again?
What are you doing?
What are you doing there? What are you doing there? Well, brother, I haven't decided who's right. Okay? Go back to church. Go back to church. When you know and you could read and understand Yahweh's word for yourself, you will not mix the clean with the unclean.
Come on.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Yeah, hard work.
Know it for yourself. Know why you believe what you believe. Now, did Yeshua celebrate communion every week? No. Once a year he did Pesach. As often as you eat this bread, meaning once a year, notice it's unleavened bread, and drink this cup, notice it's the cup of redemption, the blood of Yeshua. You proclaim the death of the Master, the Lord, until he comes. So as often as you do this according to Yeshua's instructions, where do you go to get Yeshua's instructions? His Torah. When you're doing it according to his Torah, you are what? Showing forth his remembering the blood of the Lamb on your behalf. You're remembering the blood of the Lamb on your behalf. Well, what happens if I decide to disobey the Torah and have communion once a month? Yahweh says that's private nibbling. Do you see the connection here? If it's wrong to eat carrots in the service, if it's wrong to eat celery sticks in Yahweh's Shabbat service, then it's wrong to do communion outside of Pesach, because if it is the Master's Supper and he only did it once a year, who gave you and the pastor permission to do it once a month?
Right. Come on.
That may be his way, but why doesn't it have to be your way? It doesn't have to be your way. Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
So as often meaning you're proclaiming the master's death. Now when you're doing it every week, Ted, or every week, or every month, what are you proclaiming? I'm making my own ways. I'm not walking according to Torah. When you do it once a year, you're saying that marks you, man. That marks you as an Israelite. I mean, you want to be Israel. That marks you. All your friends are taking communion every month, and you're doing it once a year.
Baruch
When?
Hashem Yahweh.
When the master did it, it's the master's supper. He tells me, I'm a guest.
Amen.
He tells me when to eat the bread and drink the wine of the renewed covenant, not me. He tells me. Turn to your neighbor and say, he tells me.
He tells me.
He tells us.
He tells us.
Most pastors tell him, no, we do communion the fourth Sunday of every month. And if you really want to please him, you'll do it twice a month.
What about every week?
That's why we can't find those little glasses here. Because we don't have them. And trust me, I'll be at the dais this coming Wednesday, and I'll be the one with the bottle of Manischewitz right here.
Me too.
And I'm not going to be drinking no grape juice.
Not me.
Of what? Rashi? I've never heard of that, brother. That sounds too dangerous to even go there. Parve. Ah, Parve. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. But think about it. How does the assembly get ready? They do it once a year. They do it without division and schism. They ask for forgiveness. They search their heart, their spirit. They say, in the past year, have I been doing private nibbling? See, we laugh, but the thing is, if it's forbidden for Pesach, it's also forbidden for Shabbat. Hello? One's a weekly Shabbat, one's an annual Shabbat. Now, watch this. When we do it Yahweh's way, we are proclaiming his death until he comes. Verse 27. So that whoever eats this bread, meaning the matzah, or drinks the cup on Pesach of the master, unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the master. Now, let's be honest, all right? We have heard a lot of things about what it means to drink and eat unworthily, have we not?
Yes.
Have we not?
Yes.
Have we not? Oh, check your heart. And then before they give out the cups and the Polywana cracker, they say, now before you take the communion, yes, am I saying it right?
Yes, yes.
Before you take the communion, check your heart, because it says in verse 27, whoever eats of the master's bread and drinks of the master's cup, unworthy is guilty of the body and blood of the master. Huh? So first of all, we see that not all Israel can partake of the Passover. You know one part of chametz? For the men, you must be circumcised. Now you won't hear that taught in a lot of Messianic congregations because the rabbi's scared of losing financial support. I'm not scared. I don't have any financial support from you. I have it from Yahweh.
Amen. Amen.
Yahweh is the one who